So guys, you're married, you got kids. Mate, how the fuck did you find the one? I'm deadly serious. Like,
Yeah.
I've dated a lot. It's mate, it's not good out here. It's not good. I wanted to come here today to get your advice, which I very rarely do. I'm usually the one giving the advice to
Yeah.
people and whatnot. But it's a nice position to be in, to be like, Gary's accomplished that. He's further forward. Like, why was it her? Because it's a nightmare for me. I'll
Minefield.
tell you in a minute. I'll go into it, but you
Okay.
just tell me.
I found Vicky, the one, shall we say, through trial and error and life lessons, and my own personal experiences you know, were kind of installed in me constantly from just going out there and putting myself out into the world. It was right. Oh, okay, what did I learn from that? And then on to the next thing, on to the next thing, on to the next thing. I think a lot of guys are just in a rush to try and do it. I actually put a video out about this before, and I genuinely think, like you talk about the male advantage, with like those years. I think most guys need to date someone for 2 to 3 years before they know if they have sustenance with the relationship. Right? A lot of people will be in a rush to move as fast as they can in a relationship. They'll get to like the 6-month mark. Are we serious? Are we not serious? Where are we going with this? So that kind of thing. But I think you just need to enjoy it. I think you need to just take the brakes off and enjoy it and just go, all right, cool. This is what it is. Let it be. You don't have to force it. Naturally see where it goes. Bruce Lee says about being like water, right? That's a thing that always plays through my mind in life when I'm trying to force something, relationships, business, physical conditioning, whatever it is, just let it be. Do the basics, relax, and let it be. And I think when you try and manufacture relationships, I think when you try and do that and you try and make it like into a Disney story, right, where everything has to be amazing and everything has to be happy all the time, everything has to be like a movie. And then you finally end up seeing the real person after you've kind of manufactured that story. You sort of second guess yourself. Is this really them? Is this actually where I want to go in my life? Because people put so much emphasis on, I don't know, people put so much emphasis on not being hurt in a relationship. They're too scared. I don't want to do this because of this. I don't want to do that because of that, because I might get rejected, because I might get hurt. You just have to go in there blindly and just try. And that's why it's always better to start as early as you can. I'm not saying every guy should just start dating randomly, but if you're 21 years old, date someone for as long as you can until you feel that this could either go in a good way or a bad way. Then make a point about it. Don't just assume that I'm going to get hurt. I'm going to get led on here. I'm going to get treated wrongly. You know, there's nothing wrong because you just hit the reset button at 22, 23 years old. And you go, all right, next one, next one, next one, next one. Then you can end up finding a partner.
See, this is my dilemma. Is a lot of guys that do these types of videos are like, I can't get women. The problem with women is, and my situation is like, I've dated so many women. I've had time in my life. It's been good fun. Everybody I've ever wanted, I've dated. I've taken on holiday and stuff like that. People say to me, "Oh, you will find the one." Right? They always say you will find the one. The one will come along, and when she is, she's a great woman. She'll do this for you. She'll do that for you, and whatever. And I look at their girlfriends, and I'm like, I would have gotten rid of her at some point because I've seen her do something in person that's bratty, that's childish, like she whinges and whatnot, and I've gotten rid of women for less than that. And I'm like, so are you settling? That's what goes through my head. I'm like, is that guy settled just so he isn't alone? And I can't do that. I would rather be alone forever than, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I won't go into detail because it's not fair on the women, but I recently took a woman to Barcelona, as you know. She never said thank you once. And then because like, so put it this way, within 3 months, we'd probably, excuse my voice, I got a cold, but we've probably in 3 months, I probably spent 2,000-3,000 right on dates. Number one, going to Michelin star restaurants, the best restaurants in London, time of our life. I pay everything that we do. I pay for her to have an Uber to the restaurant and an Uber back because she's small, beautiful. I don't want her on the train in a short skirt, whatever. I just think then I don't get an Uber home. I get the train home. You know, it's all those like principles and whatnot. On top of that, you're being a masculine man. Do you know what I mean? You're ticking all the boxes. Like people say, "Oh, do you know what you need to?" I know what I need to do. I've been doing it for years. Do you know what I mean? I know, like any video that you could show me online. I know how you should act. And oh, maybe you're spending too much. It's like no, I do that to make sure that I know if she's grateful. And if straight away it's like, oh, there we go. I almost like when you do a driving lesson and you fast track it when you're trying to get your I fast track so I can see what's actually going on and who that person is, rather than stringing it along for 6 months, then going, I just wasted 6 months.
Okay.
I'd rather just see it as it is quickly and put her in these situations. And plus, I enjoy doing it. So I would go to those restaurants anyway. I would go to Barcelona anyway. Hey, you're pretty. Do you want to come with me? Like, that's more so what it is. It's a bit of fun. And then Valentine's Day's coming up. And I was like, I'm way too busy. I'm feeling a little bit ill. Valentine's Day's coming up. I'm way too busy. I'm working on business. We're not going to do anything. Thinking, you've been to Barcelona. You've been to all these Michelin star restaurants. You've had the time of your life. Life's been amazing. Barcelona 5-star hotel. She'll slide over it. And then it's issues about, oh, Valentine's Day is really important to me. This isn't romantic enough. And you just go, so straight away I was like, you're gone. Bye. Do you know what I mean? Because you don't appreciate. Whereas other guys would have gone, oh, I'm sorry, babe, whatever. And they would have spun it round and been like, all right, I'll do something. And simped to the point where it leads to a relationship and marriage.
Yeah.
And then people go, see, I found the one. And you're like, no, because I would have cut your one off like that.
Yeah.
That's the difference. And I'm just like, I questioned it the other day. I was like, is it me? Am I just ruthless? And I was like, that's a factor. But also, I appreciate when women do something nice. So like I've had women give me fuel money before when I know they can't afford it at all. And I've been like, right, I'm going to see you again. That's amazing. What, like, would you want to be in today's dating market? Because mate, I'm telling you, the manners have just disappeared. And this isn't me saying all women in it. I hate those podcasts.
Yeah, I do as well. Yeah.
But what happened to basic manners?
Yeah.
Because men still have them. That's the difference. It's like guys like coffees. When we meet up every Wednesday, I'll go, oh, I'll get this one, mate, because you got it last week. And you said the same to me last week. You went, I'll get this one because whatever. We just do stuff for each other. That's always been the same. Not all guys are like that, but the guys who aren't like that, what do? We distance ourselves.
Yeah.
We get rid of them.
Yeah.
Any guy that was 18, 19 and we'd go up to the bar and he'd go, oh, I need the toilet when it was his round. We just wouldn't go out with him anymore. We were like, fuck that guy. But when it comes to women, for some reason, we make exceptions. I don't. And I like every woman I meet, I'm like, oh, she's a really good woman. She's fucking made 4 or 5 like real basic errors, like human errors, like not saying thank you, just being demanding, just being like, no, I don't want to do that. And you're like, whoa, what the hell is that about? And then you could throw the curveball at me. You date younger women and you go, yeah, but then you also, I personally don't want somebody who's like my age, 32, who's been with like 30 guys and it's not worked with any of them. Because then I think,
I get that angle.
What's why would I now pick you up and go, do you know what? 14 other guys have said they don't want you and broken your heart. You're going to be good enough for me. It's like, that doesn't, so it's just like, I honestly think the age I'm at now, the male advantage is when you're at your ultimate peak and you're doing like top 1% income, you're in top 1% shape, you've ticked all these boxes, you've got assets, traveling the world, your life is cool. What you're looking for is somebody who can raise you up. And when you're 18, 19, a beautiful woman on your arm is like, oh my God, this is heaven. But at this age now, I'm looking at it and I'm like, they don't have the basic manners. They don't have there was one girl I was dating last year. I took her to Paris. And for Valentine's Day, actually, which explains the whole theory, right? That you're being romantic there. When we came back, I was just like, she's not the same woman. She's just completely different. So I was like, I distance myself and whatnot. I was like, I'm not interested. It's like the lack of appreciation after an event like that. And then that woman comes back into my life 6 months later and she was like, it needs to be you and no one else. Like I've thought about it and like, you're up here and everyone else is here. And it's just like, but it's too late now. You messed up. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, I've already moved on. I don't do second chances. Whereas this is my point is every other guy would go, yeah, fine. I'll give you a second chance. Let's try again.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, because in my head, I'm thinking, okay, you went off and probably slept with someone else, realized he wasn't on my level. You probably had to go halves on a meal and went, oh, I'm not doing this. And then come back to me to live the nice lifestyle again. And it's like, no, I'm not doing it. Goodbye. And it's like, do I need to be less stubborn or do I just stay stuck in my ways until someone good enough comes along. Because that's the way I look at it. I'm willing to go until I'm 50 years old. And then at that point, I'll just give up. I'll just be like, what's the point?
It's a great viewpoint, mate. And you said a lot there, which I was digesting, because I understand your values and your concepts that you hold dear to you. And I just want to circle back to what I said about dating someone for 2 or 3 years, because I'm not telling everyone to do that, right? You obviously have to tick the basic boxes before you go, this has potential. You know, I'm not saying, girlfriend, date for 2, 3 years. Like, that's stupid, right? But you have to have the basics ticked. And if you can't get over that, then you hit the reset button, or you have a frank conversation. If you really like the girl, you have a frank conversation. You don't just settle and accept it. And it's the same for a woman who sees potential in a guy, but maybe he needs a little bit of molding, right? Because relationships take work. You can't just have the perfect thing from day one. It doesn't exist. You have to have conversations, maybe conversations you don't like. And if they respond well to it, great. If they don't, you know, maybe you need to move on. Every conversation that my missus and I have had has been with the intention of getting an outcome or a solution that we can both, you know, use to improve our relationship. It hasn't always gone gone that way. You know, sometimes it's turned into a full-blown argument, but even after the argument, we still sit down the following day and we go, do you want to talk about it? Let's talk about it. Whatever, right? We still are committed to finding a way of fixing the issue, discussing it openly. And I think when you have that mindset as well of openness in a relationship for yourself, you can be dismissive of certain things. I think you're on the opposite side of that. You kind of have your guard up, when I respect that, because you don't want to waste your time, right? There's a problem as well with a high status man, not trying to inflate your ego, but you know, you live in an apartment in London, you know, he's top 1% income, in great shape.
Why did he give my address away?
So it's like, okay, you're going to have a lot of attention, right? And you obviously YouTube presence as well, right? You're going to have a lot of people.
They say they don't know. They know.
They know. Yeah. You're going to have a lot of girls going, he's a potential partner, and they'll maybe put on a front. And it's the same with guys. They'll find a beautiful woman and they'll maybe put on a front for her, and they won't be open. So there's a very difficult line to toe in that sense, because you want to pretend, not you personally, people listening to this, you want to pretend that you are compatible with this person, right? Even though you may not be. And you're overlooking the basic things that make a relationship tick, because you're like, I'm compatible, I'm attractive. That's what matters in a relationship. It doesn't really matter that I'm not open, or I don't have boundaries, or I don't want to openly express my feelings to this person. You don't have to be vulnerable or anything like that. Just tell them what you want from life. Like, just give them your goals and be like, just so you know, I want to be a millionaire one day. Like, as a very vague example. And if they're not on the same page, or they shut down, you know, you've got to think, why, or what happened there? And like you said, it could be strike one. You know, that could be strike one, and then the manners aren't there, and it's the strike two. Then you can look past all the other stuff. But going back to the openness stuff, there's the other side of it where you can be like, oh, they didn't say thank you there, but that's fine. I can look past that.
That's right. You
know what I mean? You can look past it, and you can go, I don't know, maybe they've got something on their mind, maybe they just forgot, maybe they're tired, whatever, right? So you're open to the future of this relationship, and there's no real like closed avenue that you have to go down. Everything's open. And then you can have maybe a multitude of those little things here and there that you just tolerate. But there's also, in my opinion, there also has to be a point where you go, this is too much. And then you don't pursue the relationship for 2 to 3 years. It's extremely complicated. It's very hard for me to articulate it, because I'm trying to articulate it from a point of actually doing it and actually being in that position, because you can't replicate how your mind works in that situation. It's very hard to just sit here and talk about, oh, you'll probably think like this, or you'll probably think like that. We can speculate. Okay, this is what we're trying to do here. We're trying to add value and sort of help you guys think differently, maybe about a relationship. You hear my point of view, you'll hear Chris's point of view, read your comments on the podcast, whatever it is. But I think you need to, to summarize it, have your own boundaries and your own values. That's massively, massively important. What you look for in a partner, what you want to represent to your partner as well. Do you want to be strong and masculine? Do you want to be just neutral and down the middle? Do you want to be a complete beta male? Like whatever it is, right? Think about how you want to present yourself and what you hold dear to that. Because that's authentic. You know, you're not trying to fabricate anything. You're just like, no, I'm a masculine man. That's what I want to be. That's what I want to be with a partner. I don't want to be neutral. I don't want to be the funny, geeky guy. Do you know what I mean? I want to just be myself, which is a masculine guy. Then you've got to realize what comes with that as well, and what kind of woman finds that attractive. Because you can't just look for the girl that is the most attractive girl and go, I want her. You've got to be like, well, what actually is the traits that go well with that? You know, you've got to think about the psychology behind it. And I think that's why my wife and I hit it off so well, because she's driven. She's also, like me, she's also extremely homely, has a great family dynamic, as do I. So there's the other side of the coin. It's like we both want more from life, right? But she doesn't want to be an entrepreneur or anything like I am, but she just wants more from life. But she also wants to have a great home dynamic as well. She's not willing to sacrifice her family for her career. Like some women will be like, oh, I want to work on my career and never have kids. And it's like, all right, you do you. So you've got to think about that. That's why the openness thing is always good to have as well, just in case you want to kind of explore new conversations with this person and new goals and kind of find out more about them, and not just take things at face value, or just kind of say, right, they didn't say thank you, that's it, that's strike one. Like, you know, it's a hard thing to navigate. Relationships we could talk about this for hours. Relationships is insane. But, and I understand why guys struggle with it, because it's a minefield, but you've got to, I said at the start of this as well, you've got to go with the flow and not try and force it. But to summarize everything again, the mindset is the most critical thing about it, because you've got to find out if you're compatible on that wavelength. And if she respects your boundaries and if you respect her boundaries, you know, you can't be an arsehole about it.
See, that's the thing. Can I add to that as well?
Yeah,
It's
of
like,
course, yeah.
this is going to sound like I've just come on the podcast to bitch, but like, the thing is, I'm very open. If a girl's, I'm going on a night out with my friends, I'm like, whatever, do whatever you want.
Yeah.
I'm very carefree, no matter what. That's how I'm able to cut off overnight. I just go, all right, bye then. Who cares? Move on with my life. I'm so secure and happy in my life.
Self-sufficient.
My life's amazing.
Yeah.
And people say, oh, what you need to do on YouTube? I'm like, no, I'm doing the video for you guys. My life's sick. Do you know what I mean? I'm just trying to add somebody to my sick life.
Yeah.
And whatever. And it's like, but it doesn't, like, so people don't think I'm a complete dick, which is, it's hard to do, right? But a complete dick, maybe 20%. I'll take that. I don't mind.
Yeah.
But there's, like, for example, the Barcelona trip, not to keep going back to it. She's in the morning, she's 20 minutes late, not responding. And I'm just stood in the rain and I have to go and wait in a Costa. And I was like, it's probably packing the nicest shoes, like trying to figure it all out.
Let her go. Yeah.
We're then in the taxi, in the Uber. We're going to the airport. We're all excited, whatnot. And I was like, don't ask her. Don't ask her. Don't be condescending. I was like, don't ask her. Like, this is who I am. Like, I'm a good person to be around. And I was like, don't ask her. It's so condescending to her intelligence level. And then halfway through the journey, I was like, look, I've got to ask. I was like, you got your passport, right? And she went, no, I don't. Chris, I don't. Oh my God, I don't. And I was like, it's all right. We'll sort it out. I had to get another Uber to bring it to the airport. Right. And then we made it through the gate with 13 minutes to spare. Right. Luckily, I got us to meet 30 minutes early. So it all paid off and whatnot. It was all great. Went and had the best time ever. But then I cut her off because she's rude. So it's like, people, oh, you're too picky, you're too this. It's like, I've let a lot slide there. Like, that's dumb as fuck. Like, let's be honest. You forget your passport, you do this, you do that. Like, the stress that comes with it, you're like, and then she said, don't leave me when we're in Barcelona. Don't leave my side. I was like, right, okay, you're in the hotel room. I'm popping out to grab a t-shirt. Just next door, Massimo Ducci is across the road. I want to go in there, check it out, grab some t-shirts and jumpers. It's a bit colder than what I thought it was.
Yeah.
I'm going to go and grab them. Wait here, because she was showering. Wait here for 5 minutes. I'll be back. I come back. She's not in the room. And I was like, I know what she's doing. It's because I told her to wait here. So she's like, I'm not waiting here. And I was like, so where's she gone? So I'm trying to call her. She's got no signal. So she's in a country. She doesn't speak the language. She's tiny. And she's just in the middle of this strange city with no signal on her phone. So she eventually comes back and I was just like, what are you doing? I was like, I've just been sat here for like 10 minutes. I was like, do you know what I mean? I said, you said, don't leave your side. I was like, come on. And I was like, look, it's not, I was like, I like the fact that you're like, sit in the room, fuck you. I'm going to go out and explore. Because I'm the same. I was like, I actually respect that. I was like, I love it, but you're my responsibility while you're here. I was like, something happens to you. Like, she's from an Asian background. Her dad's going to kill me. I was like, you're my responsibility while you're here. So laughed it off and got on with it and whatever. But it's like little things like that. I'm going to purposely irritate you. I'm going to purposely try and do something annoying. And it's like, just stay there for 5 minutes. It'll be fine. Like, I can overlook all that because I can be like, I like that quality in you. You forgot your passport. I know why, because you were thinking about the outfit. You were thinking about, oh, how pretty can I look in these shoes and this dress? I was like, I can overlook all of that shit. You talking loads in my ear while we're traveling. It's like, I can overlook all of it. But then it's like not saying thank you. Or just being like, oh, you know, we need to do something for Valentine's Day. It's like, we don't.
Yeah.
Are you one of those people, are you? Because we don't. Do you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
you know, being in a relationship for a long time, you've had Valentine's days where you've gone out, done something magnificent. You've had Valentine's days where you just sat and watched TV. It makes no difference. The next day continues and whatnot. And I was like, after everything that I've done and everything that we've done together, for you to be like picky about something as small and stupid as Valentine's Day, straight away, I'm like, you're not my type of woman. You're gone. And it's like that, to highlight that. And this is the thing, that's just one woman. That's happened to me so many times. And then when people say to me, but if you were with my woman, for example, and I'm like, your woman, I've seen her literally crying because you ran out of food. And I'm like, she'd be gone. I look at that and be like, oh, I can't be with you. You're weak. And it's like, am I just got really high standards? Or am I just being way too picky? I would like to think of it as really high standards because I hold myself to the same standards. But that's probably going to result in me either finding the best woman ever and being like perfect, or being alone forever. And I think I've accepted the two. But it's like, you know, for years, women used to say men need to up their game. Do you remember that? Like, men need to up their game. Men are like, women are killing men. They're like, they're going out and make it like these big high level jobs and they're killing it. I think as a man, when you get to like this sort of level where you're around like, you know, millions, whatnot, and you're in shape and you're young, it's just like, no, you can't. Now you need to up your game.
Yeah.
And I've had it said to me, and this, I don't know if this sounds arrogant, but I'm just trying to tell it as it is. I've had a lot of women say this year, I'm intimidated, so I try and purposely destroy you. They're like, your statistics, which is fucking stupid. It's like a card on a video game, but it's like your statistics are so high, I need to try and tear you down. They're like, I've never complimented you and I never will because you're already here. You don't need it. You'll think you can leave. Do you know what I mean? When you hear that, you're just like, what sort of game are we playing here? Do you know what I mean?
Relationships is a game, though.
But that's weird, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I even said to the last girl I was dating, I was like, she goes, what's one thing that's a non-negotiable for you? I was like, I hate game playing. I'd rather somebody just tell it as it is. She was like, yeah, but I have to play games as a woman. And I was like, you don't. Just because I will just get rid of you. It's like, if you want to play little childish games and like, oh, I was talking to this guy and I said, all right, if that's what you want to do, then goodbye. Like, there's no anger, there's no malice. It's just, you're childish. Goodbye.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing the same. I'm not like rubbing it in her face like, oh, this girl's just DM me. Like, I never do that.
Women will play games though, because it's the feminine.
They will, yeah.
It's the feminine test. They'll do things like that. If they ask you, for instance, do you prefer the red dress or the blue dress? She doesn't give a fuck about your opinion, but she's asking you if you can actually make a decision and actually she can trust you. That's what it is. So if you say you look great in both, she doesn't want to hear that. She'll say, really like the blue dress. Or that's what she wants to hear. Because then it's like, right, he's made a decision. Even though I prefer the red dress, I know that this is the guy that I can trust to make a decision. It's simple things like that they will do. And it's not because women are trying to manipulate you or anything. Like, men will be like, oh, they're trying to manipulate you. No, that's how their mind works. And you need to understand that. You need to understand the dynamics of the female mind, because men do stuff that's very similar to that. We try and appear a certain way. Maybe we dress a certain way and we test to see if they respond differently or whatever. We maybe even do it subconsciously. Women can be more direct when they want to be than we can. And that's the thing. It's not necessarily manipulation. It can be in some capacities, like you just mentioned, but a lot of guys will kind of fall at the first hurdle and think, oh, she's trying to manipulate me. It's like, no, she isn't. You're just too stupid to understand what she's trying to do. So don't balk at the first sign of trouble, right? A relationship takes work. You're going to have bad times. You're going to have great times. But I get what you're saying, because at the other end of the scale, with the high status, you know, you're playing a very unfamiliar game for a lot of people. However, I'm a believer, I'll play devil's advocate here, I'm a believer in meeting someone at your level. So even if you are top tier, be a bit more humble about it, show some humility, meet the girl at her level and build together, or build her up, or she can help enhance you to get to that next 0.1%, whatever it is that you want to achieve. I think the mistake some people can make is trying to get the person to climb by themselves to their level. And when they don't achieve it, they see it as weakness. They see it as that they're not dedicated or committed to the relationship. It's like, no, this takes fucking time. Like, she's having to learn a whole new game. Like, if you're trying to say to her, I'm top 1% and you need to be there as well, and you're letting her try and figure it out, that's going to confuse her. She's going to be, how can I be at this guy's level? She's going to try and tear you down to your level. And the same for a guy. If he feels insecure, he feels emasculated because the woman is higher than him, he'll try and like reinforce his bad habits around her and bring her back down and be like, nah, you don't earn more money than me. You're not more attractive than me or fitter than me or whatever. You know, I sit on my Xbox and play, and that's what I want you to do. Right? So what? Why? Yeah. Why can't you do that? I'm overweight, so why can't you just sit on the couch with me and watch the movies? Why do you have to go to the gym? And it's the same it is the exact same thing with women and men. That's human psychology 101. Like, we feel like if there's a threat to our survival or to our ego, then we'll be like, nah, I don't like that. That has to be down to my level. It's why people get haters online, because they're doing worse than you. So they try and bring you down again. And they don't know who the hell you are, but they're like, how dare this person be better than me or perceived to be better than me, even though they don't know you from Adam. So they'll just be like, scammer, liar, bullshit. And you're like, you don't know who I am. So that's just how human psychology is. And the great example of this is Alex and Layla Hormozi. Like, they were both dead broke when they met, and now look at them, right? They worked together to build themselves up. So Alex wasn't top tier, neither was Layla, but they've worked together. So I'm a big believer that even if you are top tier, you can find someone who's slightly below you and help to work together to bring her up or him up, whatever it is. You've got to put your ego aside. It's if you're trying to attract a girl who's on the same level as you, you've got to realize what comes with that. Like, what does she look like? What does she think like? How does she act? And as you've said, mate, if she doesn't fit that mold, you can be ruthless, because yeah, you do have a lot of options, but they're not going to be on your level. They're not going to be what you're necessarily looking for. So reality is the pool's quite small for you. And that's the problem. Reality is the pool is quite small for guys in your capacity. So you've got to be like, okay, if a girl is going to be on my level, what's she going to do? What's she going to be like? What do I really want? And that's when you can do the 2 to 3 year thing that I mentioned and really test it and be like, okay, so I'm 32 now, 3 years, I'm 35. So you're same age as me, right? And then you've really not lost any time if you date a woman for 3 years and then cut it off. But you'll know if she fits the bill on day one or after 6 months. You can be like, okay, this is great. She's polite, blah, blah, blah. She's ambitious, whatever. I can push into this. And then you'll get to really know somebody. Then you'll get to really know someone over that time frame. That's when you can put a ring on it. That's when you can find the one or whatever it is. That's the part that people miss. That's the part that they're too scared to do, in my opinion.
I've always wondered that, like, if I'm like, am I scared of commitment where I'm trying to find an error? But then I was with a woman for 4.5 years, living in London. We were both broke and we built together. But I was telling the guys on a school call this morning in the community, I was like, best woman I've ever met, ticks every single box, like can't falter one bit. But there's scenarios where like she's let me down heavily. I've never done the same for her in reverse. It's always like, I need you to be here. I was saying to the guys, we were broke, so I used to walk to work for an hour and a half to work, an hour and a half back. So 3 hours a day walking. I got super skinny and she lost interest in me sexually. And it's like, that's not fair. Do you know what I mean? I'm doing this to save us money. She then, I remember I walked back once and I was done with it. I was like, I can't keep doing these walks. I was like, I'm absolutely shattered. Walked back to our apartment. But the only thing kept me going was weekend with her. I was like, can't wait to see my woman, my dog and whatnot. It's going to be amazing. I get to the building. She's coming out the door with 2 of her girlfriends. They're going for a Nando's. And I was like, hey, look, fine. But if I'm walking to work and walking back and you're just going to spend that money, I was like, what the fuck am I doing this for? And it's those like give and takes where then I realized, I came to the conclusion, I don't think you can date when you're broke because they don't want to grind like that. Do you know what I mean? Like, I want to go for meals. I want to dress up. I want to look good. And it's like, so then you realize you can't do it in the first place. You can't do it whilst you're grinding and working. And then when you succeed, you realize they're not on my level and they're not good enough because they haven't been through what I've been through.
Yeah.
And you sit there and you go, do I just Clooney it? Seriously, like, because I think I'm making a video on this soon. I think there's a maturity gap. I think before 30, women are more mature than men.
And yeah,
And they make us
they're
look,
way
they
more
make us look
mature.
like shit. They get
Yeah.
their lives together. We're going out drinking, doing all the, low level behaviors and whatnot.
Degenerate stuff.
And then it gets to, that's actually the word I was looking for. And then it gets to a certain age where I think certain men, the great male filter, which is I call from 25 to 30, whoever taps into that at that age and goes, do you know what? I'm going to stop going out and getting drunk. I'm going to hit the gym. I'm going to start working on myself and I'm going to build something. And when I'm in my 30s, the male advantage, as I've coined it, by the book,
making a description, guys.
yeah. Once you get to that stage, you go, okay, then I'm going to cash in. One thing that I did not predict is that when you've gone through those years of hell and you've worked on yourself, you've built yourself up and stuff like that, you then look at a lot of other people as childlike. Because you're like, what I've been through, like I was building a business from a cold garage with 3 coats on in a shithole town in the middle of nowhere, went sexless for 2 years. It's like a year and a half. I couldn't resist. But I said I was going to do 2 years. I put 10 grand into Solana, which was at £9 at the time, which was the £300 I was saving per month walking to and from work. So it's like, oh, now you want me because that's popped off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now you want to hang out and go shopping and like, we'll go for meals together and shit like that. She wasn't like that, but that's what ends up happening. I put 10 grand into my own supplements, wrote my own book, which took me 6 months to write, 6 months to record the audiobook for, and then I released it and cashed in on that. And it's like you put all this grind in silence on a Saturday night, a Saturday morning, I found Solana. So it was a cold Saturday morning. Everyone's out going, enjoying themselves. I was sat in this garage freezing, running up like electricity bill, trying to put these heaters on. It ended up being like 700 per month just to keep warm. And, I was like tapping into that, looking it through, or Solana finally pops off. Supplements finally pop off. The book finally pops off. And you look at everything around that and you're like, if I've been through all of that shit for that long and I've become who I've become, when somebody goes, yeah, but I don't know, the boss at work. And it's like, yeah, I want to try and appreciate your problems, but it's also like going, oh, life's tough. And some guys just come back from war. Like I interviewed a boxer from Afghanistan 2 years ago for a stream platform project for Bare Knuckle.
Bare Knuckle, yeah.
He was like, yeah, it's this area is not rough at all. It's like the roughest area in our area. He's like, it's not rough. He's like, it's child's play. He was like, I've had bombs go off and I've had irons in my legs. That was his exact words. It feels like that where, like, not on that level of danger, but it feels like that where you've been through so much. You've made such a commitment. You've chucked so much money back into what you're doing that you just look at other people and just go, ugh, like, don't even talk to me about your problems. Do you know what I mean? Which is bad. I don't know whether it desensitizes you. I had an issue for years where it was like, I'd go on dates and I'd be in business mode. That's why I started taking Saturdays off because I was like, I have to just switch off completely. But I don't know, I just find like people are talking about nonsense. I just find like their problems are like that big. Like you ask somebody like, I don't know, you get to know each other and you're like, what's the toughest thing you've ever been through? And one girl said to me, I drove home once and I was high. And I was like, really? I was like, that's the toughest thing. Yeah, she was like, my dad spoiled me. He's always looked after me. And it's like, you can't relate. Do you know what I mean? That makes it really difficult. That, like, for me is a struggle. Like, even the best woman I've ever met in my life that I had a 4.5-year relationship with and was happy as hell with. There was one day we had all our stuff stored in Big Yellow, the storage facility. She had a Christmas party. And I was like, what time are you going to be back? She said about 9-ish. And I was like, perfect. Okay. I'll get started on getting all the stuff over. It was like a 1-hour walk there and a 1-hour walk back. I was like, I'll get started about 5:30 when I get home from work. And then when you arrive, we can do it together. I even stole the trailer. I brought it back eventually, but I stole the trailer from Big Yellow to make it easier. So I put all of our stuff on, dragged it back. It was snowing. It was getting colder and colder. And each time, the only thing that was motivating me was when she gets back, I'll nearly have it done. And she's going to be like, oh my God, well done, babe. Which I think is always a man's motivation. It's very selfless, which is where I'm coming from here. And you're like, let's get it done. Let's get it done. Let's get all the stuff. And every hour that passed by, I'd get back to the house and I'd be like, oh, she's not here. I wonder if I can do another one before she gets home. And I did another one. Oh, she's not back. And it became that narrative. And then the last one, I was like, no, fuck you. Do you know what I mean? I was like, I got one more left. I'm just going to do it on my own, whatever. She's not even back yet. So I bring all the stuff back, set it all up in the house. I was like, whatever, I'm going to bed. She comes in about 12:30, 1, gives me a cuddle. And she's like, oh my God, you did it all. And I was just like, get off. I was like, just get off. I'm not even interested. Like, we're moving house together. and I've done it all. Do you know what I mean? It's like, I don't mind as the man doing the physical activity, but it's the fact you said you'd be home at a certain time and you would, do you know what I mean? We'd do it together. And it's like, so you just been out partying till 1 a.m. You come home, you smell a little bit like alcohol. For all I know, you've been cheating. I never accuse anybody of that. And if you have, then so be it. You go your way, I'll go my way. But it's like, that's the level of commitment you're putting in as a man. You're always like, I'll do this for us. I'll do this for us. And then in return, you're like, wait, what am I getting? Because you know, this whole narrative is like, what do you bring to the table? It's overplayed and it's men's excuse to shit on women. It's not justified.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
And then the women go, I'm bringing this to the table. I'm not a mug enough to believe that. Like, with everything I've been through in business and like when I was building that business in the garage and it was cold, like my dad died that same year. We buried him. Well, we cremated him. I paid for the funeral while still making that business successful. It's like, that's what you've been through. You've been through all of that whilst caring for him, watching him die, whilst going through a body transformation. It's like, I know the value of like a pound. Like, even with the amount of money that you can make, whatever now, if somebody says to me, that's £5.50, I'd go, wait, for what? For a small coffee? I'd be like, you're taking the piss. That's £3. I'm not paying you more. I did it the other day with a taxi. It would cost this much. I was like, I'm not paying that. I was like, you're taking the piss. Having that moral compass, I can't then just go, that's true. You're bringing face, boobs, and arse. I just can't do it. I just think it's the weakest mentality on the planet. It's like, if I had a business partner and I was like, what you bring to the table? And he was just like, I'm rich. I'd go, yeah, but what you bring into the table? Oh, I'm going to fund everything. I go, okay, so that's 80% me, 20% you then. Because that's what an investor is. They just take a small percentage. If you're actually putting the work in, then we go 50-50. And it would be the same with a woman. I'd be like, so this is 80% me, 20% you then, if you're just bringing beauty.
Because it's surface level.
It's surface level.
The surface, that's the thing. You've got to understand the woman's perspective on that as well, because in a way, men have created the world. We've created the narrative, and women have seen that. They're not stupid. That's why OnlyFans is so popular.
Yeah.
Because they're like, these idiot men are going to pay for my attractive body, and I'm going to make shitloads of money. Why would I go and work in a boring job? You can't knock them for that.
No,
you
can't.
You genuinely can't, right? So if it ever got to that, and women were like, you know what, I'm just going to jump on OnlyFans, every woman, right? If it ever got to that, you can't knock them for it.
Yeah.
Because we've created that opportunity for them. Like, we've gone, you know what, we're stupid. We're gonna pay for this. We're gonna simp. And women haven't asked for that, but they're like, okay, fine. If I can make, what is the top OnlyFans creator makes like 600 grand a month or something?
It's like something ridiculous.
Insane.
Yeah.
Why would you want to work in a job where you've got a fat middle-aged man telling you what to do as a woman if you're attractive, right? Why would you do that? So women's standards and their psychology is beauty. Like, if I look great, men will want me. Men are like, I have to step up and bring something to the table because looks is not enough. So I hate the term, what do you bring to the table? Reality is, what do you want from life? What do you actually want to achieve in your life? It's not what do you bring to the table, because you're only looking at what happens now. You're not looking at future. Relationship is not what happens now. It doesn't stay the same day in a relationship. It progresses. So if you're not on the same page from day one, forget it. Okay. I've openly said to my partner, I wanted to build a business. I've said since I was 18 years old, and I've documented this, I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I've said this to previous partners way before I was married and way before I met Vicky. I said it to my exes, and I thought things were great, right? But then things started to shift. I started to progress in my career. She stayed stagnant. You know, we drifted apart. She didn't want to build with me like Vicky did. That's why I married Vic, right? And I had a previous relationship that was 4 years, and that was prior to me traveling to America to kind of figure my life out and get out of the UK and sort of do stuff. And I thought that back then she was the one. But I was young and naive at that time. I got with her when I was 19, and then I left when I was 23, and then I went to the States. Then I met Vicky when I was 25. Now I'm 35. I've been married for 3 years, and we got 2 kids, right? But that's a big time period from 18 to 35, 17 years of my life. Figuring stuff, 19 to 35, 16 years of figuring stuff out and learning about myself and the kind of the ins and outs of relationships. And there's no way that I get this right every time. There isn't. I'm still make mistakes this day, and I still piss my missus off, and I say the wrong thing or I do the wrong thing. That's the dynamics of a relationship. You're never going to be right 100% of the time. You're going to do stuff or say things that you don't really mean in the heat of the moment, or you're going to forget to do things or whatever, right? So trying to understand each other's psychology and dynamic, it can be good, right? But I think you need to understand it from the beginning rather than trying to understand it when you're in a relationship. If you understand it from the beginning and you understand what drives relationships for women and what drives them for men, you can make it way more compatible, because then you're kind of like, well, she doesn't really give a fuck about this, right? And I do, but it's like, if it's not important to her, why should I try and like force it on her? Like, if it's important to you, like just accept, oh, yeah, this is important to me. Like football, right? For a lot of guys, they love football. My missus isn't interested in football. I don't try and force it on her. This is a very basic example. But for me, it's like, I like watching my team at the weekend, right? I like watching them play, whether they lose, win, draw, whatever. I like doing it. But I don't get pissed off if she doesn't want to watch football with me. I'm like, I don't think, oh, that's a red flag. It's like, so if she's not interested in business and she's not interested in helping you kind of grow your business or interested in your business being successful, doesn't necessarily mean she's a bad person. However, if you wanted to have someone support you, you should have openly stated that at the start of the relationship. I'm looking to grow the business and I want you to come along with me, not be part of the business, but enjoy the same life as me. I want you to succeed as much as I want to succeed. I want you to realize what it takes to actually succeed in life. I don't want to be average. If you're open and you say that stuff to her and she's taken back by it, or she finds it sexy and she finds it attractive, great. The latter is obviously what you want. You don't want the former where she's like, oh, fuck that. This guy's never going to see me. Right. But you have to state these things. You have to be, like we said a while back, sorry, have your boundaries, but be open to her interpretation and see things from her perspective as well. Because women and men think very differently. So not everything's black and white with them. It's black and white with us. It is or it isn't. But with them, it's not. And they think differently. And that's not a fault of theirs. It's just how they're designed. You know, an electric car drives completely differently to a V8, right? So you've got to understand how they work. You can't ask the same mechanic to fix them. One has to be trained on the other. One has to be trained on the original, the V8, the combustion engine, right? We understand the combustion engine. We're still learning about electric vehicles. So it's the same with men. It's like, I understand me. I'm the original version because obviously I'm me. This kind of new concept of dating, I don't really understand, but I'll figure it out. Yeah, you will. You will. But you also need to put some fucking effort into it to start with. Be like, how do women actually think? How can I actually attract women? How can I make them more appealing to me, right? Or how can I appeal more to them rather? You've got to understand these things. Guys go in it blindly. That's why so many women are unhappy with their husbands when they get married, is because men just give up. Right? Women do as well, but 9 times out of 10, it's the man who's like, all right, she's never going to leave me. Like, it's the male ego is like, she's never going to leave me. And eventually she will. Like, it will, 2 years down the line, after you've had that thought, she'll turn around and go, I want a divorce, because you've just given up. And yeah, women can do the same to men, but in very rare cases, a lot of the time it's men just going, nah, can't be arsed now, because they think that she's going to take care of him for the rest of his life or whatever. It's like, you don't understand the psychology of it. That's the biggest hurdle. When you get to that point of relationship, in my opinion, that's the biggest hurdle, is to continue. Like, because I said it before in one of our videos, marriage is the start. Like, that's a commitment. So it's like, right, we're committed to the rest of our lives together. We've dated for 5-6 years. In mine and Vicky's case, it was 7 years before we got married. Now we're married. This is a whole nother dynamic that we need to understand. We need to figure it out, right? Because if you take it up a notch in a relationship, you can just walk away anytime. No matter if you put 7 years in, you can go, nah, it's not working for me. Sorry. There's no commitment. There's no papers. There's no legal agreement. There's no ring, nothing. Walk away. It's hard, but you can do it. Marriage, whole nother thing. And I think that, again, that's why guys are scared to put their foot into relationships in the first place, because they think that the end result has to be marriage. And then they don't understand that. They're not ready to commit. Like, they've got goals and ambitions. Fine. But tell your partner about those goals and ambitions and get her to support you on the way up. But also understand what level you're at personally and where you want to go. Don't set the bar too high, because you'll be perpetually disappointed.
Do you know what? I think that's a big part of it. I have such high expectations for myself. I put that on everybody I meet. So it's like for you, because you're just big guys, you know. But a lot of people that I work with as well, I'm like, why are we still doing this? Yeah, this hasn't worked. I said this to you the other day, didn't I, about something else that we're working on?
Yeah.
And I was like, what? We've been doing this for X amount of time. It's not worked.
Where's
We're
the
still
result?
doing it.
Yeah.
Like I would have changed that by now. And I've worked with some very high level people in finance. They would like that with me. They're like, up your game. What the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you still doing this? Like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing on repeat. They'd say that to you and you'd be like, all right, now I feel stupid. They were like, you should do, like, change it. No, I almost have that with other people now. And I've tried to like lower it down. I've tried to be a little bit more relaxed. But like I was on the phone the other day to the bank because I got a new card and I had to change something. So I called them up. The woman that they put me through to goes, oh, yeah. She did that as an intro and I went, hello. I was like, am I speaking to X, whatever? Like did I come through to the right department or what? She was like, yeah, what do you need? And I went, well, nothing now. I was like, put me through to someone else. And she goes, well, no, I can help you. And I went, no, you answered the phone yawning and then didn't give me a proper introduction.
Yeah.
I was like, I now do not trust your lack of professionalism. Sorry, I do not trust your professionalism there. I was like, because of what you've shown me from the start. I was like, put me through to someone else. Next person picks up the phone. She was like, hello, it's so-and-so calling from blah, 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 and went through the whole introduction. And I was like, fantastic, I'll deal with you.
Yeah.
Because I know that like if you hire somebody who has got those sloppy standards, you will get sloppy results. And I've only ever had one woman once wake up before me. And she woke up, I was shattered, and she woke up, went and got me a matcha, brought it back, and like handed it to me when I was in bed. I was a little bit embarrassed. I was like, why am I still asleep? Once in my life. And I've woken up in a bed with multiple times.
Yeah.
Like, let's add this up. For that to only have happened once, to wake up before me, and I'm not talking, I'm up 10 minutes before you, it's like 4 hours. Significant chunks of time. I'll wake up at like 5 a.m. on a Saturday. And I'm like, it's fine. That's up to me. I can do what I want. They won't surface till 10. And I'm just like, I can't.
Yeah, 10 is,
do you know what I mean?
Taking the piss.
But it's the same with like my business. If that was somebody who's like, oh, sorry, mate, I know I'm 3 hours late for work. I'd be like, you're fired. So it's like, why would I operate differently in my own life? And yeah, I can be forgiven. I can be like, yeah, look, it's Saturday, chill. Like, you don't have to be up all the time. But it's like 10 and then they're slow and then they don't get ready in time. You're like, the day's gone. So do you know what I don't like? My life is suffering then because of that person. Like I have somebody recently that I'm semi-dating. And she said the same thing to me that she said in October. I'm just waiting for this to happen. I'm trying to change this. It's a career thing. And I went, you said this to me in October. Like, I'm not going to feel sorry for you and be like, oh, all right, let's wait. I was like, I want to go here on holiday. If you want to come with me, sort your shit out. Like, my uncle was the same. My uncle was very just like straight down the middle. I remember like that sounds very much like him today, but it's how I am. And it's like, I can't suffer you as a fool. You said this 4 months ago that you needed to sort it. 4 months later, I've been to Budapest and organized everything with the boys for 1M International. I'm looking to buy a second property. I've moved to London. I've set up my whole life in London. We've started doing all of this. I've released a trench coat and like the whole fashion line's about to follow. Restocked the whole supplements and they're about to get shipped out. Hired about 12 new people and changed the entire format of our content in 4 months. And about to book a whole year's events.
Yeah, we've done a lot of
and I'm just, do you know what I mean? I look back, I've even driven back from Granada in that time frame and filmed a whole stream platform project. And I look at it and I'm just like, what have you been doing? So then I think, well, I don't want my kids to have those behaviors. And number two, if you're around me operating like that, I'm babysitting you. And why am I babysitting somebody? Because they're pretty and we can have sex. It's like, okay, remove sex. It'd be more beneficial for me to live with a man. Right? I've said this for years to people. Like, if it wasn't for sex, I'd be like, well, statistically, they make more money. Security is now doubled. Like, who's breaking in if me and you are living in a house? Do you know what I mean? You got two giant guys. If something breaks in the house, probably got a double chance that one of us has got the skills to repair it.
Yeah.
You know, there's more money coming into the household. If I want to buy a TV, you probably want a TV too, because we're blokes. We want the same thing. So we're going to go halves on that. Do you know what I mean? It's like, we probably want to decorate the house in the same way, business orientated, podcast in the living room. And then you go, but I can't sleep with Gary. Well, I can, but I don't want to. Do you know what I mean? So then you go, am I basing all of this purely off sex or?
Yeah, that's the thing that's the primal desire that blinds a lot of people.
And I just find that silly.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Silly.
That's the thing is you've got to train yourself to look past that because when you first see a woman, you're like, you find yourself attracted to her, instantly your body's like, I want to sleep with her, I want to mate with her. That's what we're put on this earth to do. So when you've got to look past that, it's very hard. And then you get into the nuances and the details of a relationship and the psychology stuff that we're talking about here. That's the hard part. That's why a lot of people are scared to date, especially in the modern world, when there is a standard that you see online all the time. And if like you can't hit that standard, or you feel you can't hit that standard, what's the point? It's just very demotivating. I didn't necessarily have that so much when I found Vic. Although social media existed, it wasn't the size it is now. We're only going back to 2014 when we first started dating, and we got together in January 2015. And there wasn't, I mean, I didn't have a business online. I was still working 9 to 5. So was she. She was working in London. She still works a 9 to 5 now, but she's obviously climbed her corporate ladder because she's pushed herself hard and she's been driven. She's done a lot in that period of time, as have I, and we've done it together. And yeah, there are times where we're kind of on different paths, and maybe, you know, we're like passing ships sometimes mentally. Like we don't really relate to each other's problems as much as we think we do, right? Because it's always perception. We try and do the best that we can. But going back to just the social media thing, there wasn't this standard that I could go on Instagram and be like, oh yeah, because Instagram was only 3 or 4 years old at that point. Right? Now it's gigantic. It's billions of users, and people are posting millions of pieces of content every second. And you're like, this is the world. This is the narrative that's feeding, especially these young kids, like these teenagers that you and I speak to, that are following our brands and kind of want to learn from us because we're, you know, 10, 15 years ahead of them. And they're stuck. They don't know what to do. They think everything's fabricated. They think everything in like their reality is fabricated, or they think that they have to fabricate things in order to get something. And my mindset is, to a degree, yeah, that is true. But also you have to trust your human intuition. And eventually the humanity of relationships will break through. Like you'll be connected. Like humans are intended to be connected, rather than trying to have status games and mind games and all of these other things. But that's a very hard thing to achieve in a relationship, where you kind of have this, it's a connection that you can't explain. It's a very hard thing to achieve. You can lust after somebody. You can be in a long-term relationship but never feel fully connected to somebody. You just kind of like them, and you're attracted to them. You keep them around because maybe they make you laugh, whatever. But you know, you're still trying to fabricate some form of happiness in your own life because, you know, that narrative has been rife since day one. You've also looked past the core elements of relationships and psychology as well, and kind of been open and transparent about what you want to achieve in life, and ask the right questions to your partner. So that's when people become unhappy, because the magic starts to fade. And I said it earlier in this podcast, like everyone's looking for that Disney life or that social media life. It's like, that doesn't exist. It exists in the first few months, maybe. Like you went to Barcelona, like it was amazing, right? But you had moments there that weren't amazing. So you've got to kind of think, yeah, that life can be lived, but it doesn't last forever. And if you really want to build in a relationship, you actually really want to master a relationship, you have to put the work in at the start and understand things. And that's mainly on yourself as well. Actually putting the effort in to go, if I start dating, just like you would a business, if I start building a business, what do I need to do? So if I start dating, what are the things I need to look for? What's going to upset me? What's going to upset her? How do women respond to certain things? How do men respond to certain things? How would I respond to certain things? All of these things you need to consider. You don't have to go crazy, you know, lock yourself in a padded cell and just fucking scribble notes down all the time and go mental. But you have to be aware. You have to raise your self-awareness. And the problem is, guys will look at their phone, be like, that's what I need to do. That's what I've been told to do. And they completely lose their intuition. And the ironic thing is, we're sitting in here and talking on a podcast, which is going to go out on YouTube. And if you guys really watch it on YouTube, thank you. But we're not trying to tell you to do everything we're saying. We're trying to give you an insight so you can make your mind up and go, you know what, that's pretty cool. I might go try that out. But you don't have to go, this is the only thing I need to do in a relationship now because Chris and Gary told me so. And completely completely disregard your own human instincts and intuition. That's the problem people have as well. They're like, I disregarded what I wanted and I only went after this person to make them happy, and now I'm fucking miserable.
Do you know, I heard something amazing the other day. They didn't say it to me, but I read it. It probably held true me when I was younger. They said the only reason you want a beautiful woman with like the crazy body and everything and whatnot is to impress other men. Yeah, and I was like, probably makes sense.
It does.
But I've tried that as well. I've dated women that I didn't find that attractive, but I liked as a person.
Yeah.
And it's like, there's that Drake line, which is, my business takes my time away from women, or something like that. My career takes time away from women. My time away from women. That's it. I've got a career that takes my time away from women. Is like I sit on my balcony and wonder how you're feeling. I was sat on my balcony in the penthouse in Cheltenham when that came out, and I was listening to it, and I was like, yeah, fuck, that's a problem. Because girls that I've actually liked, I've always had to just distance myself from. And nobody's going to go, yeah, I'll wait for like 4 years. Like, you think I've got the girl in Granada that I really like. I can't see her. It's like 3 hours away. Do you know what I mean? It's like I get to see her 2-3 times a year. She ticks every box. The way she's responded to, I'm not going to be out there for Valentine's Day. Perfect. I'm like, oh, wow, what a mature woman. Speaks 5 languages, ticks every single box, like as beautiful as you could ever imagine. But then it's like, oh, I'm nowhere near you. It's going to be hard to, do you know what I mean? So you're just like, well, I'm not going to prioritize you and just move to somewhere I don't want to live. I don't mind a holiday now and then, but it's like, unless you want to move to where I'm going to be, or somewhere cool, where it's like I can actually build a life here, not just we can potter down on a Sunday and get some sandwiches and then, come back to the house and watch some Spanish TV. Like, I'm not about that. So it's like, unless you want that, then that's over as well. And you're just like, you got these standards like so high, it's almost, do you know what I mean? It becomes super difficult.
Everyone's vying for the high standards though, and I think people get blinded by it. I saw a message you put out in the WhatsApp group the other day about the standards that women have and that men have, and like what's wrong and why women go for the bad guys, and why, you hear that before, all the Mr. Nice guys, like, why can't I get any women? And then she's off with some degenerate. And that narrative has been perpetuated in fiction and in movies and stuff like that. Like the guy in the leather jacket with the slick back hair is dating the beautiful girl, and then the geeky guy clutching the books with the glasses is like, "Well, won't anyone come and date me?" You know what I mean? And then obviously she ends up dating him in the end, because she finds out that the bad guy in the leather jacket is actually an asshole, right? So you've got to think about. So again, it's women's psychology and female psychology, right? Because men don't understand that.
They're like, why is she with him? See, the thing is that never happens, but that never happens in that short span of time.
Yeah.
That's sped up by about 20 years.
Yeah.
So you get a woman who's 18 who goes off with the bad boy, and then at about 38, she'll settle down with the guy. When she's got 2 or 3 kids, she'll be like, oh, geeky guy, do you still like me? You're doing well for yourself. You still can't get women. I'll come back to you now. And it's like, I feel like the whole narrative online when it comes to women is, how do I attract them? How do I get laid? It's like, guys, that's the easy part. It's a waste of time. You literally don't even have to think. It's built into us. You just be a bloke. You just get on with your life, focus on you, get on with your life, and one after the other comes to a level.
Mate. As long as you focus on being a high value man.
Yeah. It's almost too easy. You don't like care. That's the thing. I've always said, like, and I'll probably get clipped up for this, and I never give a shit, but like, I'm very similar to Dan Bilzerian. Very similar. When everyone gives him shit, it's like, oh, he didn't. I'm like, no, he did. I guarantee he did, because I've got similar experiences. Not to that level, whatnot, because he's doing it publicly. But like, I've got similar experiences where it's like, yeah, like I don't give a shit either. And then they do turn up at your house in a trench coat and lingerie and knock on the door, and you're like, what are you doing here again? I've dropped girls at the train station and been like, bye, I never want to see you again. And then got a knock at the door at 10 p.m. and then it's them. And I'm like, what are you doing? Didn't you go home? I missed all the trains on purpose so that it's like, now you got to stay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you have all these stories. That's the easy part. It's the second half where it's just like, who am I going to pick out of the one? Like, you look at Clooney, he got married at 28, got divorced at 32, I believe. Never went back to it until he was 61.
Yeah.
Didn't get married again until he was 61. Like, he obviously got burnt and went, no. But like, that was nowhere near as good as the way I was living. Or reached his male advantage years and just went, I'll see if another one comes along that's as good. And it took like 30 years to find another woman as good to be worth marrying. Like, when he was at his peak years. And people give him grief for it, and they're like, oh, he just wants to be a player. Same with DiCaprio. And it's like, no, he probably just gets bored. Probably can't find anybody that's on that level. They probably give him so much grief, or they probably take away from how cool his life is, that he's like, why would I bother? I might as well just enjoy the first 3, 4, 5, 6 months and then just bounce. And that's not his intention. I'm sure that's the thing. People go, oh, he's just doing it until they turn 25. Don't be dumb. He's not a pedophile. Do you know what I mean? Right? He's not a weirdo. He can have any woman in the world he wants. He's dated older women when he was younger as well. what he's doing is going, I hope this works. But then they probably do something where he just goes, why, like, my life's amazing. Why am I going to sit here and stress and argue with you? Goodbye. I'm going to Cannes. And then he finds another one and just goes, she's happy and smiley. I'll just continue from here. And it's like, nobody talks about that stage.
Yeah.
Everyone's in the self-improvement stage, but it's very rare that anybody actually gets to the level they want to get to. And then you go, well, what now? Because then it's hard. Then it's really hard. And it's not a case of, how do I find the hottest woman with the nice, like, it's not that.
Yeah.
It's how do I find somebody who is, and I mean this truly, like a normal human being who thinks like a normal human being. Like me and you are very reasonable. Like we can both sit here and go, like I could sit here today and go, maybe it's me. Maybe I'm the problem, Gaz. Maybe it is. I've been raised well enough by my mom and my dad and whatnot to know that. You're the same. We'll sit there and we'll go, you can't do that, can you? Do you know what I mean? We're those types of people. I love those types of people that go, you can't, come on, you can't do that. That's not fair. But there's delusional people out there that do really outlandish stuff and don't see a problem with it. And I think that's what's happened now. And I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's our fault, not me and you. We don't watch it. But like the guys that sign up to OnlyFans, the guys that are jumping in DMs going, I would walk across glass barefoot with piss stinging my feet just to get a sniff of your hair.
Yeah.
Those are the guys.
Seen
Do you know what I mean? I've seen that stuff.
Crazy shit. Yeah, honestly.
It's those guys that are ruining it because everyone's getting a little bit delusional. It's like if everyone came up to you every day and said, and you're very tall. If everyone said to you though, you're the tallest man I've ever seen. If they kept saying it, you'd probably think you're about 7 foot tall. You'd see a guy who was 6'8" and you'd go, wait, I thought I was the tallest man alive.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's like the emperor's robe.
Yeah.
You know, he's wearing like no clothes and everyone's like, oh wow, what a nice outfit. And then one person goes, you're naked. That's happened.
Yeah.
I think that's happened and it's just created, I mean, men are delusional too.
Oh yeah.
When it comes to this, like I'm a high level man, it's like, you know,
in what capacity?
In what capacity?
Yeah.
You've never done anything.
Yeah.
You sold a course online, you make 10 grand a month. Well done. But you tick no other box. So it's like, it goes both ways. I'm old enough to know that.
Yeah.
But from what I'm seeing with women, the delusion is through the roof. And it's like either you fully simp out to make sure you lock her off, or you keep your standards so high that you're probably going to have to go through like 10 years. You might get lucky and find her right away, but you're probably going to have to go through 10 years of like solid dating. Because that's what I've been doing.
I went through 16 years of it.
That's what I mean.
From when I started to where I am now.
Yeah.
Obviously, when I got with Vic, I met her when I was 25. So 19 to 25 is only 6 years, but there's still 6 years of like figuring out relationships, being in a long-term relationship, then another one, then traveling, then finding her. It's like, I've done all this stuff. And I think in closing, because we're over time now, in closing, I want to say that, guys, if you are going to hear what we're saying here on this podcast, because we both said some really good stuff. Not that I'm rubbing our own egos here, but
no, we're amazing.
We are amazing. We've said some stuff that I think you'll find valuable. The thing I want to say, and just add on to what the whole point of this podcast is that you've got to be prepared to be hurt as well. You have to be prepared to be hurt, because nothing good comes from avoiding pain. I mean, in business, in the gym, with nutrition, making the choices to not eat the pizza compared to like psychologically, it's painful. The gym, you put your muscles through pain. You're sore for days when you first start. Business, you lose money. Relationships, you fall out of love with someone or whatever. You get cheated on. That's life. There's no Disney fairy tale where everyone's happy ever after. You know, there's no social media post where you're living in a fucking villa in Miami, right? And you're surrounded by women, right? That doesn't exist. That's fabricated. And you need to realize that the people that are perpetuating that life are willing to be hurt. They're willing to be called scammers. They're willing to be called out. They're willing to lose everything, lose their reputation. And a lot of them will, right? That's the mindset they've got. It's a all-in mindset. We're not saying you need to go all in with relationships and sacrifice every other aspect of your life, but you need to understand that if it doesn't work out, you're going to be hurt, and you need to be okay with that. You need to go, all right, so if I really like this girl and she seems great, blah, 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 like you date for 2 to 3 years and all of a sudden it doesn't work out. Maybe she changes slightly. Maybe she shifts her goals. Maybe she decides she doesn't want to have kids. Maybe you just lose your way in life as well and you have a really rough time and she's like, I don't want to be with this guy anymore. You have to accept that. That's part of relationship. Like if you start a business as well and it fails after 3 years, you can't just go, right, I'm a failure. You have to go, no, I'll do another one and I'll do another one and another one. And that's the game that you've got to play as a human being as well. So yeah, I just want to wrap this up. Chris, as always, mate, thanks for coming on.
Mate, I appreciate
We'll
it.
do another one. This is part 1. I think I think we've got enough stuff.
I think we
Part
have to.
2,
That's why I want
definitely.
to talk about these topics.
We'll come back here because it's so relative
Yeah.
to what people are going through now, mate. But yeah,
Raw honesty.
Yeah.
I like it.
awesome. Thanks,
Appreciate
mate.
it, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Legend.